Hello, I'm the Amazing Atheist, as I'm sure you all know. Before we begin this video, perhaps I should pimp out some shit to you. Since I know a lot of you might not watch to the end, this could get quite long. It is an answer session. These are notorious for their extraordinary length, unlike my penis. The first thing I'd like to pimp out to you is our photo book. It is 400 pages. It contains a behind-the-scenes commentary by me and my director, Cody Weber, who is not directing this video, but directs most of my videos. I would also like to pimp out the director's cut of my documentary, Amazing, down below. And it is amazing, by the way. At least I hope it is. Alright, so now that you guys have gone down there and bought all that neat stuff, we can begin.
Hi TJ, I wanted to know, what's your opinion on this debt crisis that's going on right now? Do you think there's going to be like a societal collapse as people are saying, or do you think it's just going to get resolved and we're going to go along with our business? Alright, thank you.
Is there going to be a societal collapse? Yeah, sure, eventually. Definitely. Every society that has ever been has, at some point, collapsed. Will there be a societal collapse because of this debt crisis? Well, you know, maybe. I don't know. Who can say? There's a lot of factors here that are sort of volatile. Volatile things by their very nature are difficult to predict. One thing I can say is that I seriously doubt that Congress and the Senate and the President will not get together with some sort of half-baked plan to raise the debt ceiling. We have to do something about spending. And neither party is going to be honest. We used to have two consistent parties in America. We used to have the Democrats who said, we want to spend a lot of money, but we also want to bring in more revenue. And then you had the Republicans who said, we want to cut taxes, but we also want to cut spending. Now, both of these positions are consistent. The new position of both parties, which seems to be, let's cut taxes and let's increase spending, those positions are not consistent. At this point, by the way, I don't think that raising taxes would be enough. I also don't think cutting spending would be enough. I think at this point you really have to do both. And that means letting the Bush tax cuts expire. That means significantly cutting the military budget. That means finding ways to save a lot of money on the entitlement programs that we do need. That means, well, one thing we could do is institute universal health care instead of relying on Medicare and Medicaid and government subsidies to hospitals and doctors and so on and so forth. But we're not going to do that. Because universal health care, for some reason, is just a really scary thing, even though it covers more people for less money. For some reason, the Republicans won't let us do it, because it's not fiscally responsible, even though we spend more money than every other fucking country. Now, we spend more money on health care and have less people fucking covered by it. But no, we can't fucking change that because we're fucking retarded. But yeah, the debt ceiling is you know, it's gonna get raised. And probably we're gonna get fucked in the ass 5 ways from Sunday in whatever agreement the twin dildo parties decide on.
Hello, Amazing Atheist. I have one question. It's a real simple one to say. I don't know how simple it is to respond to. How do you feel about solitary confinement? I know you're anti-death penalty, but I don't hear anyone talking about solitary confinement. It seems to be one of those things that we forget that we have. I think it's some 800,000 Americans in solitary confinement, and many of them spend, you know, decades even. You know, I watched a documentary where there were people that had been in there for 12, 13 years. So my question to you is, what do you think about solitary confinement? Is it better, the same, or worse than the death penalty? And, you know, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Bye, and thanks for maybe answering my question.
Solitary confinement is actually part of my prison survival strategy. I, like most people, break the law on a regular basis, and I've thought to myself, you know, what if one day I end up in prison? It could happen, you know, they might come burst down my door. I mean, a lot of people go to prison now just for owing too much debt. We have debtor's prison again in America. So maybe, you know, hey, you didn't pay your credit card payment in time, you fucking going to prison. So yeah, that could happen. Or, you know, maybe you downloaded too much fucking music, asshole, and, you know, we passed this new law that says, you know, you stream too much shit, you go to prison. We're passing new laws like that all the time, so it could fucking happen. And you lock me in a fucking cage, solitary confinement, that is my survival strategy, because I don't want to get turned. Well, my survival strategy for prison is to go into solitary confinement. My survival strategy is, you know, the guard comes near me, you know, another prisoner comes near me, I attack. I attack anyone who is within range of my fists. That way I'm put in solitary confinement. I'm too dangerous for the general population. I have to be put in solitary. That way no one can get to me. I'm all alone, by myself. And I kind of like it like that. I'm not like other people where I'm this really social animal. I mean, sure, it's you know, I get lonely like anyone else, but I don't need people the way that some folks do. I can kind of survive on my own. I can be locked in a little room with minimal human contact and, you know, do whatever. Even just be there with my thoughts. I can play games. I can just run around my little cell and be like, I'm Superman. I don't care. So that's my survival strategy in prison. But, you know, for most people, no. You know, it's a horrible thing to do to somebody. You know, we're group animals. We like being in groups. Even anti-social maniacs like being in groups. To cut them off from that, it's to deprive them of part of their essential humanity. Are we trying to make our inmates less human? I was under the impression that we were trying to make them more human. Well, I really wasn't under that impression here in America, but I was under the impression that that's what we should be doing. We should be trying to create some sort of decency within these people. You don't create human decency by removing someone from humanity. That doesn't make any sense. It's an illogical position to take.
So, Amazing Atheist, my question is, if you could have something from a movie that's not currently in the real world, invented and brought into this world, what would it be? Kind of like the hoverboard from Back to the Future, or lightsabers, or the flying cars, or, you know, just anything in general. If you could have anything invented from any movie, what would it be?
The holodeck from fucking Star Trek, obviously. I mean, what better invention is there? You can immerse yourself in a world wherein you are God at any time. I would live in the fucking holodeck. I would live in the holodeck and I would be God. I would have no morality. I would have no accountability. I would be just this brutal, horrific figure that lords over my little holographic creations and cares nothing for them beyond how they can amuse me with their suffering. If indeed their pain can be called suffering, since, you know, they are just artificial intelligences, you know, not even true intelligences, but just constructs designed to be able to convince me that they possess intelligence. And even if they were intelligences, who cares? You can still fuck with them, because you have power. Such power. You know, it's a place where you can let your base, horrific nature thrive and run wild, and that's kind of beautiful. Of course, it seems like the holodeck has a lot of problems, since like every other time there's an episode with the holodeck in it in The Next Generation, it seemed like they were, you know, like, oh, the safety parameters have been turned off, and now you can die in the holodeck, and we can't seem to get them out, so, you know, it kind of fails as a recreational tool in that sense. But alright, you know, it's awesome.
Hello, TJ. My question is, for the betterment of the human race, should there be a more active and exacting effort to remove the influence of today's dogmatic religions, or would it be counterproductive or just plain useless? Thank you.
Remove the impact. I don't know how you remove the impact without removing the religion. I don't know how you remove the religion without having any real understanding of where it comes from and why people cling to it. You know, we don't really ask enough questions about why religion exists. Why did it come about? So that's the first step. That being said, should the ultimate goal be to reduce religion among the population, to reduce religious influence on public policy? I think the answer is pretty obviously yes. Religion it has no place in a debate like that. You know, when you cannot have this abortion debate where one side is you know, okay, you know, if you outlaw abortion, people are going to do it anyway. We've had the courts rule on this. You know, they've decided that people should have this right. You know, it's not a life. It doesn't have. You know, we can point to it with science and show, you know, this you know, entity growing inside her does not have advanced cognitive function. It does not function on the level of a human being. You can show them all that, and all they're just going to say is, "Well, God says it's a human being. The Bible says so," and the Bible doesn't even say so. But still, that's the auspices. That's the excuse. It's God. God says it's life, so we have to protect it. Otherwise, it's murder. It's not murder. We can show it's not murder. There's not, at least not a significant number of atheists out there who don't agree with abortion. I mean, don't agree with the right to abortion. Even if you have like some personal objection to it, you know, if you're a rational human being, you could say, "Oh, well, I object to it, so I'm not going to do it." But that's not the vantage point of the religious person. The religious person says, you know, even if I don't have an objection to it personally, my God does. You know, whatever I feel, that's probably what God is telling me to feel. How do you win an argument with a person who has that position? They're not arguing about with logic and you know, facts or evidence. They're talking about, you know, desert deities who, you know, have influenced culture for thousands of years but don't really exist. So yeah, obviously we have to get rid of that. But it's not just, you know, we have to do it with a scalpel, not a fucking hatchet. You know, we don't just, no religion! You know, it has to be through education. It has to be through gradual, incremental social change.
Hey, Amazing Atheist. I have one more question for you that I forgot to ask. Do you think we should have one-child families only? And why not? And what exceptions you would make?
One-child families only, I don't think that's necessary. I don't think it's necessary because I don't think that population growth in the industrialized world is significant enough to pose an ecological threat. Now, that depends entirely on how populations conduct themselves. And right now in America, we conduct ourselves rather poorly in terms of looking at the environment and looking at the biosphere. But our population, our actual numbers, they probably are sustainable. They're okay if we, you know, adopted a different lifestyle. It's not a matter of there being just way too many of us. And we're not breeding at this extraordinary rate. Now, in some communities, the reproduction rates are higher, but you know, the populations in a lot of civilized countries, they're either declining naturally or they've very much leveled out. Where you see these big population explosions is in countries where you don't have the industrialization. And it's kind of important to note that in those countries, infant mortality rates are very high. And they've only, the fact that they've been improved through modern medicine is probably a problem, and that's kind of horrible to say, but it's kind of a problem in terms of population growth. But, you know, in the Western world, I don't think it's as big of an issue.
Hey, Amazing Atheist. So you answered my question last time, and I just want to say thank you because it got me a lot of subscribers and whatnot. And my question for this time is, what is your most traumatic childhood experience? So, thank you. Bye.
Yeah, you're the only person in this video who I'm answering multiple questions from, and it's mostly to make a comment on you. You are scary to me. Because you are this, like, I don't know, you look like you're, like, 10? I'm assuming you're probably older than that. But you look, like, so, like, innocent and naive and, like, batting eyelashes and gee whiz, mister. But you always ask me these fucking questions. Like, last time it was, like, cannibalism, and this time it's, like, childhood trauma. Like, why do you cut to the core of me? Like, what is it with you and this, like, Hannibal Lecter-like propensity to just like, I reach inside you now and I pull at your heart and just, you know, you're like a creepy horror movie girl. You know, you're not creepy. Well, you are somewhat in like your scary psychological. I don't know what. Okay, the point is, you're just like not. Damn it, this is coming out wrong. I'm not saying you're freaky, I'm just, you know, you're not like scary and like the Shining girls or something, you know, but you just... Who put Hannibal Lecter's brain in your body? That's what I'm trying to ask you. You know, you ask about cannibalism, that's Hannibal. You're asking about my childhood trauma, that's like something a shrink would say. I mean, you know, I'm putting this shit together, girl, alright? That's all I'm saying. Okay, as for your question about childhood trauma, you know, I've looked at my childhood, I've thought about this question, and, you know, I've not had a lot of things I've really felt were traumatic. I've had a lot of events happen to me that should have been traumatic, but they just don't feel like they really resonated throughout my life. Maybe that's just my delusion, but I think the most traumatic memory, actually, was just not even like a specific instance, but just the trauma of being bullied so much. Not so much when I hit like puberty and got really fucking big, but when I was just like this awkward fucking prepubescent, it's like the other kids just fucking despise me, because you see me, I'm weird, and this is not something that like developed over time. This is like, I've been weird. Day one, fucking strange kid. You know, I was like born fucking backwards, and you know, the first thing I said when I hopped out was like, I put on a little top hat, I'm just like, yeah, good evening, doctor, and then, you know, that's my life. I've been the weird fuck from instant one, okay? And so the kids didn't like me, they wanted to beat me, they wanted to fuck my shit up, they just like, you know, punching me in the stomach and shit. And my mom was like, oh, they're roughhousing, boys will be boys. I'm like, nah, this is not fun for me. So yeah, that was traumatic, that shit. The fucking kids, I wish I could kill them all. I mean, you know, no, I'm just joking, not really. Okay, so next question.
Hey TJ, this is Nate. I just had a question. Like, I noticed you defend a lot of stuff men do, or, you know, you dislike feminism, and I was just curious, would you consider yourself a masculinist? Thanks, love the show, bye.
No, masculinism, no. No, masculinists are stupid. The only reason I don't make videos against masculinists is because, like, most people don't even know who they are. I mean, like, when you asked your question, like, Galen was there, he was over my shoulder, and he's like, what the fuck is a masculinist? And I showed him, and he's like, what? You know, I mean, so most people don't know about the masculinists. They're kind of this very, very niche movement of fucking losers. And no, I am not among them. No, you know, I don't know what I am, but I'm about universal human rights. I'm about equality between everyone. I'm not about, look, you know, my group is oppressed and I'm gonna fight for my rights. No, I don't want to fucking, fuck your rights, fuck gay rights, fuck women's rights, fuck black rights, Fuck all these groups who think they need these rights. No, everyone should have the same rights. It's about human rights. You know, we all have to have equal rights. And you know, and fuck you if you're one of these fucking assholes out there who says, well, you know, we all have the right to marry someone of the opposite sex. Yeah, but we don't all have the right to marry someone we love. We don't have that right, do we? And then there are people who say, oh, and the next thing we know, we'd be marrying dogs. First of all, I don't see how a dog could sign a fucking legal contract. But second of all, who fucking cares? You know, the fucking neighbor wants to marry Fido, big fucking deal. Like, that's gonna be a fucking epidemic. Like, we're gonna become a nation of dog fuckers. That's the slippery slope. I mean, give me a fucking break. How many people look at dogs and are just like, yeah, sexy? Maybe like 1 out of fucking like 200 people? You know, like, at best. At best. Oh, and then the pedophilia thing. Like, oh, everyone's gonna become a pedophile. What's next? Pedophile rights? Well, you know what? If there comes a day where the pedophiles march through the streets and society starts to think about it and comes to the conclusion, yeah, maybe pedophiles deserve rights, then what's the fucking problem? That's not even us. That's the future. At some future point, society makes a decision. We're so fucking conceited and arrogant. Not only do we look back at the past judgmentally like, oh, look at them stupid fucks, but we look to the future and say like, yeah, the future should listen to us too. Like there's never been a more enlightened time than right fucking now. Like, we want to dictate morality to the future. We want to fucking judge the past. Like, you know, like, okay, you know, having moral judgment is fine. Arguing for what kind of future we want is fine. Looking at the mistakes of the past is fine. But that's not even what we do. What we do is we act like, no, we can't do that because then the future will suck. It'll be, you know, they might develop a different morality than the one we have. And ours is perfect. Find me the person who thinks we're living in perfect times. And then, you know, let that person justify themselves, and then they can dictate to the future.
Hey TJ, looking good. I was just wondering, what are your ideas on fatalism if you took away the predetermination bullshit to it? So essentially, do you think that humanity is stupid and hopeless and there's nothing you can do about it or should try to do about it? And do you think that eventually it would have the same end result as anarchism would? So yeah, have a beautiful life.
You know, this is a question that might call for more of an emotional answer than an intellectual one. My relationship with my species is a very difficult thing even for me to grasp, honestly. I feel as though when I talk to certain people that there is hope for this world, that things could turn out okay. Maybe not that they could, but that they should. You know, I talk to certain people that are in my circle that are, you know, that I've selected, basically. And I talk to them and I feel like, you know, even if most people are stupid, even if the majority are dumb fucks, that the world should be a good place just for these people. If there's 5 good people out of 100, then those 5 people deserve to live in a good world. That's what I feel emotionally. But I know that they can't have it. Because the other 95 people are fucking idiots. You can't reason with them. You can't even fucking talk to them. You can't even communicate a simple fucking idea to them. And so, the good people I know, they're fucked. They're fucked and they don't deserve it because they're the best example of humanity. They're the ones who have fucking thoughts and feelings and ideas and warmth and just, you know, they care about other people. But we don't fucking, you know, we don't try to fucking better the world for them. Because the rest of the world doesn't give a fuck. The rest of the world is at McDonald's fucking stuffing its fat fucking face with fucking greaseball fries and fucking shitty little hamburgers that we fucking got from diseased cattle fucking poisoned by an unregulated fucking meat industry. Barely regulated meat industry, at least. It is like, oh yeah. It's a big fucking clusterfuck of distraction and decay. And you think I like it? You think I walk outside and look at the world and just say, yeah! Well, yeah, sometimes I do. Because it's all I can do anymore. It's all I can do. To fucking deal with it. If I looked at it and was honest with myself about it, then I don't know how I could live here. I don't know how I could exist in this world if I took it seriously. But we're fucked. We've always been fucked. It's too easy in nature for evil to conquer good. For force to conquer peace. Because the tranquility of 20 people having a picnic can be destroyed by one maniac wielding a fucking automatic weapon.
You're Amazing Atheist. I have a question about you on country music. I've noticed in a couple of your videos that you make little jokes about it, and I'm wondering if you hate the music or you're just making fun of it, of where you live, or you hear too much of it because you live in the South. I don't mind you hating on it. I just wanna know the reason. All right, bye.
Elvis lives. Thank you very much. Country music. I like some country music. I like the old country music about drinking and fighting and, you know, legendary figures like, you know, John Henry and his fucking hammer and, you know, gunslingers of the Old West and stuff like that. But, you know, when it comes to this new country music about, like, you know, the flag and Jesus and fucking how we gotta stop socialism and, you know, it's just retard music for dumb fucks. That's all it is now. I mean, you know, if you want to sing me a fucking song with an acoustic guitar about how you went to the bar and fucking, you know, you grabbed some girl's tit and then you punched a guy out, that's a good fucking song. I'll listen to that. But if you want to sing me a song about how much you fucking love the cross and you know, you fucking think Ron Paul's the greatest thing since sliced bread, then you could fucking peddle that horse shit elsewhere.
Hey, Amazing Atheist, I was just wondering, do you think Marilyn Manson actually believed what he said on Celebrity Ghost Stories, or was he bullshitting? What's your favorite Dexter episode? And what are your views on socialism? Thanks.
Okay, so 3 questions from you, but you asked them very quickly, so that's fine. I'll let you get away with it. Favorite Dexter episode? Probably the last episode of season 4, with the big spoiler alert: Rita's dead. Okay, the conclusion of the Trinity Killer story arc. The 4th season is my favorite season, and that is the big emotional moment where everything that was built up to was just suddenly released. So that's a good episode, obviously. My socialism views on socialism. You know, I think socialism is a tool that we can use. I don't think that it is the only tool. I think that capitalism is something that's been shown to incentivize people to create new breakthroughs, to really motivate human beings to perform incredible feats of creation. So yeah, I think capitalism is a good tool too. So can we find that medium? Can we find the place where we have the incentive for people to create new things and make a tremendous personal profit, but at the same time not forget that the majority of people still need food, clothing, and shelter? I mean, if we could pull that off, that'd be pretty cool, don't you think? Oh, and the Manson ghost story thing, that never happened. Never happened. If you want to see a Manson interview, go watch his interview with Henry Rollins, go watch him pwn Bill O'Reilly, go watch his A&E biography. All that stuff's on YouTube, but do not watch the celebrity ghost stories, which you can't even watch because it never happened. It doesn't exist.
Hello, the Amazing Atheist. I have a question, because you asked for a question. If by some amazing stroke of bad luck, these God and Jesus fellas turned out to be real, how would you rather spend eternity? The rest of time in heaven where you have no free will, or the rest of time in hell where you have free will but your arse might be on fire? Thank you very much.
I'm not sure if I have free will now. I guess it depends on how you're going to define free will, right? I mean, well, whether I have free will or not, I have the sense of free will. I feel as if I have free will, and even if it's proven that I don't, it's not going to affect the fact that I feel it. I have that sense within me. I feel as if I'm in control. If I come at a path, you know, two paths diverge in a wood, I make a decision. You know, I am going to the left, and I am going to conquer. You know, I mean, it's probably, you know, it was going to happen that way. I mean, there's probably just like, you know, the raindrop, you drop it on the you know, the groove, and it's going to go down, and that's how things go. So, but, you know, so, I mean, if I'm going to be in heaven and I'm not going to have any free will, am I going to be in heaven without free will and without even the sense of free will? Am I going to know that I have no free will? Am I going to just feel it with every fiber of my being that, you know, I am now getting up? Not because I want to, but because that is what I am doing, and I'm going to play this harp, and I'm going to smile, and, you know, because that sounds like hell to me. And, you know, the roasting booty, that doesn't sound so bad. I mean, you know, hey, it might smell good in hell. I mean, I've always liked the scent of meat. Human beings are made of meat. There's a lot of fire there. It might smell pretty nice, you know, and, you know, after, you know, it's an eternity. So, I mean, I figure after a couple millennia, you know, which is nothing on an eternal time scale, you probably get used to the sense of burning, and you just be able to walk around and just, you know, talk to your fellow damned souls and be like, hey, how you doing? And, you know, hey, can I take a bite out of your ass? That's looking good. Just like, you know, I mean, it seems like hell is just the more logical choice.
My question on death probabilities. If I get you right, you're an atheist that believes this world is the reality, and that's it. To me, as an atheist, I claim no truth, and in that sense, I'm curious to die, see what's up. My guess is game at an alien arcade, and I'll turn out to have 5 breasts. When I gain control is removed from my brain, the alien memory returns to me. So, why is this claiming truth? I also have a philosophical question. If Forever Alone, Megasta and Bear Grylls didn't have this for like 4 days at the fight, who would lose? I mean, I don't think Forever Alone can lose because he's in a fight with Bear Grylls.
the thing you have to understand about that is raisins are, you know, prunes are just raisins, and Grendel, come here, buddy, come here, come here. Look, come here, come here. Yeah, look at the doggy. Look at the doggy. Look. You like the doggy. You like the doggy. You like Daddy, don't you? Rock-a-bye plug in the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock.
The Amazing Atheist. If astral projection was by some scientific breakthrough proven to exist outside of the human mind, meaning there were higher planes of existence and there were entities living on these higher planes, etc., would that change your views on religion? Would you act any different than you already do? Would that change your views on life, or would everything just stay the same?
Astral projection. Okay, so if astral projection existed, and we went to other planes of existence, whatever the fuck that means, and there were beings there, would that change my opinion on religion? No. Unless those beings were like, I am God and I can prove it. Then maybe, sure, okay. But at that point, it's not really religion. It's science. It's not like I'm believing on faith. It's not like I'm accepting a dogma. I am accepting new facts about reality. So it's not really religion at that point. It's fucking just, you know, it's science, because there's evidence. Science-like evidence. Evidence, science, evidence. Everyone's happy. Religion is like the odd man out. He's like out there on the fringe, like, I don't need no fucking evidence. But then, you know, the second they see anything that even resembles evidence, they're like, oh, evidence, look, see, it's evidence. And then, you know, the scientific community is like, no, that's not really evidence. That's a dog turd. And then the religious person's like, no, it's not. It's evidence. It's good evidence. I'm putting it in my creationist museum. We found a fossil of Jesus. It might look like a turd, but that's a Jesus turd.
Greetings, the Amazing Atheist. My question is, why are you accepting questions via webcam? Yeah, I'm a dick.
Why are you accepting questions via webcam? Why?
Hello, Amazing Atheist. In one of your videos, you said that you support the legalization of drugs such as cannabis. What is your main reason for this? Also, do you think that this legalization could save the economy as many said? Thanks.
Cannabis! Would you like to legalize cannabis? Cannabis! Cannabis! Why do I support the legalization of drugs? Well, first of all, yeah, it could potentially help the economy. I mean, that's why, well, it was a big part of why Prohibition died, because we needed some economic stimulus in the wake of the Great Depression. So yeah, that's possible. It could stimulate the economy, especially if the drugs were heavily taxed, which would still be a good deal for drug users because the prices of drugs would go down significantly, so a little bit of tax added to them would still be a tremendous price cut from what most of them pay now, and it would be a good revenue stream for the United States of America. But the main reason that I support legalizing drugs is because we have a prison culture that thrives on the drug war. We have the highest prison population of any country. Putting in all these mandatory minimum sentences and the drug war, those two things combined have led to a prison population explosion, which has led us to have overcrowded prisons, which has led us to subcontracting out to private companies, which has led to other people's, which has led to incarceration becoming a business, a publicly traded business in America, where people make money off of you being in jail, which is, I think we can all agree, bullshit. That should not be the case. It will also reduce violence because why was there so much violence during Prohibition? Because gangsters were bootlegging liquor and they were shooting each other and fighting over territories, which is the same reason drug dealers are killing each other now. If we didn't have drugs, they wouldn't have a black market. If we didn't have a black market, we wouldn't have thugs peddling illicit substances to anybody that wants them. We could regulate this. We could keep this out of the hands of children, at least more effectively than we do now. We could make money off it. We could make sure that it's safe. We could prevent people from overdosing. There's really not, in my mind, any compelling argument in favor of keeping drugs illegal. The only argument that anyone ever seems to make is like, oh, if we legalize the drugs, everyone's going to do them. No. I don't care how legal heroin is. I'm not doing it. Most people I know are not doing it. I don't care how legal crack is. I'm not doing it. I don't care how legal meth is. I'm not doing it. You know, if you know, there's certain drugs that if they were legal, I probably would do them recreationally. And, well, I already do them recreationally, but if they were, you know, legal, I'd do them recreationally a lot more. And that's because I know that they're relatively safe compared to stuff like heroin, crack, meth, etc.
Hi TJ, I was wondering, what are your opinions on higher education? Like university, college? Thanks. I know you make videos all the time, it's fucking impossible.
Yes. It's impossible. It can't be done. My opinion on college, universities, higher education, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, I don't know. How could I be against higher education? I'm against people who think that they can learn certain skills that are better learned through life experience. I'm against the idea of a business degree. You don't become adept at business by getting a business degree. You become adept at business by being in business. It's absurd to think that you're going to learn how to run a company in an academic setting. In my opinion. Maybe there are people out there who disagree with me. To me, if you're going to go to college, it should be not to guarantee yourself some lucrative career, but to expand yourself as a human being. I think when it comes to career, apprenticeship makes a lot more sense. But, you know, we live in a culture where people don't want to take on apprentices, and that's kind of silly, because an apprentice is basically someone who works for free. You know, granted, you have to fucking constantly answer their questions and teach them how to do things, but hey, at the same time, it's free labor. I would take someone with experience over someone with a college degree any day. You know, you want if you're on a plane, I mean, you're about to fly across the ocean. Do you want the pilot who's done it, 600 times, or do you want the guy who, got an A in aviation class? I know that the aviation class entails actually flying planes, but I'm just saying someone who sat down and filled out a little, quiz about, what does this throttle do and all that. You want the guy who's actually been in the fucking plane, do you not? Sure. Sure you do. Everyone would. So yeah. College is important, but hands-on experience is better. And if you're going to a class that purports to teach you how to do something without ever giving you hands-on experience, then I would assume that that class is probably not worth your fucking time.
Hey TJ, when I argue with theists who believe in a God that they define as all-loving and all-powerful, be it Christian, Muslim, whatever, I find myself often taking an anti-theistic stance, maybe even positive atheism in response to their specific God claim. And I usually use some incarnation of the problem of evil as my reasoning for not believing in the existence of their particular God. I was just wondering, do you think there are any other anti-theistic arguments that are similarly effective in maybe dealing with specific gods, such as the Abrahamic gods, or at least in terms of gods that are all-powerful and all-loving? Thanks.
Well, I don't know what the problem of evil encompasses in your argument, but it's not just about evil. It's about, would a loving God who could conceivably create the universe any way he wished have created it the way he did, if he was truly full of just love and affection for human beings? First of all, if he loves us, then why do we exhibit so many traits that he doesn't like? He could have created us any way he wanted to. He doesn't like us to engage in gay sex, then why did he create in us, well, some of us, the will to do it? He doesn't like us having sex outside of marriage, then why does he make sex outside of marriage so appealing? He doesn't want us to eat certain meats. Why does he make them so tasty? He doesn't want us to work on Sunday. Why does he make working on Sunday so vital to our survival? Why did he create us in such a way where we would displease him, where we would be strongly incentivized to displease him? It's kind of strange to love us when you don't love so much of what we do. And the Christian answer to this is always free will, free will. But it's not about free will. Free will is irrelevant. Assuming we have free will, God still created us with these urges. He could have created us with a totally different set of urges. He could have gave us a big old boner for like charity and doing good works. He could have been like, oh, you want me to help the poor? Well, every time you help the poor out, you get a big old boner, and you just feel so fucking good and elated. Like it's like a carnal pleasure. It just feels good. It just, yeah, fuck, I helped the shit out of those poor people. Why didn't he create us with that? Why did he create the world the way he did? Why do we live such short lives? Why do we have pain? Why do we die so easily? Why is like an arrow? Why should that be a problem for us? Why would why would he create something that he loves and just treasures and just like, yeah, it's awesome. And then, create us in a way that he doesn't like, and then give us all these rules, and then make us so frail and fragile. Another thing the Christians say is that, well, at first the world was perfect. But then, we fucked it up. He gave us paradise. He gave us all these things. But then, 2 people ate some fucking fruit from a tree, and then it all just got fucked up. Well, what the fuck was that tree doing there? Why'd you put a tree there just to fuck with us? You engineered our downfall. You said you gave us curiosity. You gave us a desire to taste that fruit. You put it within our reach, and then you say, don't fucking eat it. Oh, by the way, I'm going to turn my back and look over here. Yeah. This makes sense to anybody? The only way that God makes sense in any sort of logical way, just as a character, I mean, God doesn't make sense as a concept. The only way that God makes sense, even as a character, with the attributes that are ascribed to him, is if he's a dick. He's just a total fucking dick. He's a fucking asshole. You know, loving God? No, he's a hating God. He's a fucking troll. He's like a cosmic fucking troll face God. That's the only way it makes any sense. Outside of that, it's fucking nonsense.
This is a question for TJ, and I was wondering, what are your thoughts on the atheists who filed a lawsuit regarding the cross on the World Trade Center?
You know, it's government land, right? It's government land. Some people want to put a cross up. And, you know, that's wrong. It's wrong and it's unconstitutional. Unconstitutional, you know, we do so many unconstitutional things now that it's almost like, it's like a drop in the bucket. But it's just wrong to do. It's wrong because it says, hey, remember how we all agree on this? We don't. We don't all agree on that. I mean, granted, we do all kinds of things in this country that we really shouldn't do without everyone behind us. Now, there are certain things we have to do. Certain things we definitely should do, like build roads, take care of the sick who can't take care of themselves, provide some, you know, a court system with legal consistency, and fire services, and, you know, communications networks and things like that. You know, projects that are so big that private industry really just doesn't do it as well as government. And by the way, you know, people like Lee Doran who tell you, oh, the private sector, it's way more efficient. Why then does our internet speed suck compared to the rest of the fucking world? There are so many countries at relatively the same level of industrialization as us who have way faster internet speeds. Why? Because the government mandates it. In our country, where there's no mandated high-speed networks, we get fucked. And we get charged huge overages if we go over our data limits. Because we have an inferior network, because the government didn't say, hey, you gotta fucking build a better one. So yeah, the private sector does not always do things the best. In fact, usually the private sector kind of fucking sucks. They're out to make money. They're not out to give you the best product. They're out to give you the product that will make them the most money, and that's not always the same thing. In fact, usually it's not. What was the question? Okay, the cross. But there's also these things that we shouldn't do unless we have, you know, pretty much unanimous support for. Like the wars. Why should thousands of people die? Why should billions and billions, perhaps trillions of tax dollars be spent on these wars that most Americans don't even want, or at least a good chunk of Americans don't even want? And why should we put people to death when something like 32% of people don't agree that we should even have a death penalty? A lot of Americans do not believe in Christianity. A lot of them don't. We have people in this country who are atheists, who are Buddhists, who are Muslims, who are Hindus, who are fucking Taoists, all kinds of other things, who don't believe in Jesus, who don't care about Jesus. So why is that symbol allowed? Why is that the symbol we all have to agree on? As if as if everyone who died in 9/11 was a Christian. That's preposterous. Atheists died in those towers. Muslims died in those towers. There's no reason whatsoever to insult the memory of those people by creating a monument that basically spits on them and says that they are the least important victims.
Hey TJ, after the attacks on Utøya and in the capital of Norway, there have been a debate about how we should have morality and ethics as a subject in schools. Do you think this will help at all? Or do you think this is a stupid idea?
Morality and ethics classes in school, I don't think that we need a class telling people what's wrong and what's right. I think what we need is a class that gives people critical thinking skills. We need a class that says, you know, here's how to look at problems, here's how to look at situations critically, here's how to avoid dogmatic thinking. That's more important, because what are you going to do? Just, you know, you need a class to tell people, hey, it's wrong to shoot each other. Most people understand that. You know, it's not the mainstream of society who is with the program who are shooting each other. It's the fringe. It's these like lone idiots on the fucking fringes who think that their lives and their statement trumps trumps you. It trumps your right. You know, you have your body and you have your right to exist, and they don't give a fuck. They're the maniac who just doesn't give a shit. They think that whatever fucking bullshit statement, whatever bullshit objective they have, that matters more. They think their ideology, their dogma, you know, it trumps your existence. They think that because they have that power to take your life, that means that it's a good idea. These people are the lowest of the fucking scum of the fucking earth. Okay? They don't even... I respect killers who kill for profit or even fun more than I respect people who kill for some idea. At least if you're killing for profit, you have a pragmatic reason. If you're killing for fun, then at least you have the excuse of being like a mentally deranged fucking motherfucker. If you're killing because you think that you have some big idea that's more important than human life, and that's the only way you can make your statement, then you're an idiot. You have an idea that you think is that important, and yet you can't explain it without bullets. You can't convince people without a bayonet at their fucking throat. You're an imbecile. I have no respect for you.
TJ, what would you say is the best way to respond to the Christian argument of, since science can't explain it at the moment, God did it?
You know, there've been scientific deficiencies forever. There's always going to be things we don't know, and they're always going to be credited by, to God by somebody. Obviously, I think these people are idiots, but the best way to fight them is just to point out, look, when we didn't know that rain was caused by, evaporation, condensation, precipitation, all that shit. Before we knew that, we thought that, God was controlling the rain. We thought it was God up there like, yeah, open the firmaments. Let the rain spill on down. We fucking thought that. We were dumb. We were dumb. We are dumb. We're just a little less dumb now. Explain that to them. Explain, look, we used to think the world was flat. It says right in the Bible that the earth rests on 4 pillars. It says in the Bible that when Jesus stood upon the mountain, he could see the entire world. It says that because fucking primitives thought the world was fucking flat. Because it kind of looks flat when you're when you're a little ant on its fucking, it's just a fucking small portion of its surface, encompassing, like a surface area so minuscule it's not even worth fucking mentioning. Then it looks kind of flat. Like, yeah, it looks kind of flat, and everything, this way is down, and that way is up. And you don't know that the very direction you point when you're pointing down, that's someone's up. And the very direction you point when you're pointing up, that's someone's down. You didn't know that. How could you know that? How could you be expected to know that? Unless you're an advanced mathematician. So yeah, we thought the world was flat. We were dumb. We're a bunch of dumb fucks. And, you know, people believe that. And then when we found out the world was round, you know, we stopped believing what the Bible said about the fucking shape of the earth. We just said, well, you know, I guess the Bible was wrong. I mean, that verse was just poetry. It's just it's metaphor. It's up for interpretation. It's an analogy. It's not to be taken literally. Now, there's this thought among some of the more dogmatically inclined scientific people that thinks like, oh, one day we'll fill all the gaps and then there'll be no room for God. Well, that's never going to happen. There's always going to be some blank space with a big question mark, and someone's always going to try to insert God or whatever in there. And we're all just going to have to roll our eyes and go, there they go again. And that's just going to be, the fucking duration of the human species. We're going to fucking deal with that.
Dave Johnson here. My question is, have you ever planned or thought of having a child or adopting a child? That's my question. Dave Johnson. We're done here.
I want to adopt you, because you come with your own little fucking homemade hazmat thing. That's pretty neat, you know? Plus you look like, you're, what, 15, 16, 17 maybe? You look like I could fucking ship your ass to college in like a year or two. That's like easy. I'm just like, yes, my boy. And then if you don't accomplish anything, I could be like, well, I didn't really raise him. He's just like, I kind of took him in. Times were tough. But then if you do accomplish something, I could be like, oh, that's my boy. That is my boy. Man, he accomplished great things. And a kid who's wearing a hazmat suit in a video with his filled fucking gas mask and shit, like, how could he not go on to accomplish great things? So I'm pretty confident in you, son.
Hey TJ, what are your thoughts on aliens?
My thoughts on aliens? I really don't have a lot of thoughts about aliens, to be honest with you. Sometimes late at night, when I'm sleeping and, I wake up and they're in my room. That's kind of freaky. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And they're just kind of standing over me, just like looking down. They're never doing anything. That's the weird thing. Like, you think they'd have like a probe or something, but they're always just looking at me. I'm just like, what the fuck are they looking at? Like, am I really that interesting? And, I sleep naked, so maybe they're just perverts, they're just standing there and they're jerking off, and then they see me, like, waking up, and they just stop, and they just kind of freeze, They're like, they're not sure what to do. Like, should we leave? Maybe he'll think he's dreaming and just go back to sleep, and we can continue, the jerk-off session. So I don't know. They're very strange, those fucking aliens, man. But, outside of that, I really don't think about them too much. Sometimes I'll be in there in my room and, I'm just like, what the fuck you doing? And then they always just kind of like, disappear. They're just like, woo. So it's strange. They're kind of creepy, I guess. But, they don't bother me too much.
I showed someone in my family recently the video you made. It's only sexist when men do it. And this person is a woman, and they completely agreed with the women in the video. And no matter what arguments I gave against it, the only response they could give me was, well, if you have to ask what women have to, what is wrong with the society in terms of male empowerment, I'm not going to tell you. Now, I do know that males are pretty much in charge, but I'd like to think that that's changing. And I just wanted to know what you would say to someone who says that women don't have all the rights that they should and won't give you any rights that that they think they should have. What would you say to them?
Well, that's like kind of a classic argument of someone who has no argument, isn't it? Like, well, if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you. No, what they're really saying is, I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass, and I have no way to justify my position. Now, I take issue with something you said. You said males are in charge. Males are in charge. No. The people who are in charge are male. But that does not mean males are in charge. You see the difference? I'm not in charge. You're not in charge. We're males. Do we go to our secret male meetings where we start figuring out the fate of the fucking world? Do we, do we get to fucking figure this out? Like, we all share power? Everyone with a penis gets a say? Everyone with a vagina, they're just left out? There was a time when the world was like that, and that was a horrible time. Fuck that time. But that time is not now. Women have the vote. They can go in the booth and vote for whoever the fuck they want to vote for. If they keep voting for males, it's because they're fucking stupid. I'm sorry, there's no other way to fucking put it. Of course, we're all stupid because we keep voting for dumbass politicians instead of people who actually are interested in real fucking social change. Because every time we see a candidate that actually has a real agenda or has a real opinion, we freak out and just like, whoa! I don't know, he seems crazy. He's like a fringe candidate. I mean, like, I'd vote for him, but he's only going to get 2%, so I'm not going to vote for him. Meanwhile, there's like, 30% of the population out there saying they're not going to vote for him only because he's only going to get 2%, even though they agree with him or her. So we all don't vote for the people we want. And we really shouldn't take gender into account. I mean, if you're someone who's sitting there looking at a candidate and you're thinking, oh, I hope, I'm not sure, I was going to vote, but then, she's a woman and I'm not sure about having a woman in charge, that's fucking stupid. And there are some guys like that. There are some women like that. I actually probably know more women who are against vote, who won't vote for another woman because they're like, I don't like her hair. Not to say that men are above such superficial bullshit. I mean, remember we went through that with John Kerry. Like, he has helmet head. Like, okay, he's going to be the leader of the free world. I think we need to judge him on a fucking more intelligent basis than what the fuck his hair looks like. But yeah, okay, so we're kind of getting off topic here. But the point is, look, women have the vote. Men are not in charge. Some men are in charge. We have a select group of men who are in charge. But they don't share their power with the common man. They don't share their power with Joe fucking Blow off the street. I have no fucking say in the running of Fortune 500 companies. I have no fucking say in the running of the country beyond like my meager little like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking check this box on this ballot for a candidate that's never gonna win. Yay!
What do you think of Hollywood films that say based on a true story or based on true events, but when you watch the actual film, it's a completely different story itself?
There's a movie called Quills that I'm really fond of. It's about the Marquis de Sade in a French lunatic asylum, and it's completely fabricated. There's nothing about it that's the least bit true, but it uses historical figures. But it's an allegory. It's making a larger point. It's myth building. Basically, it's giving us a myth about a man who championed free speech, who could not be silenced, who stood up for his art, and that's a great movie. It's a great fucking movie. It's brilliant in every fucking conceivable way, but it's completely false. Could people watch it and think it actually happened and walk away from that movie misinformed? Yes, that could happen. In fact, until I did some research, I think that probably happened to me, because that was really the first time I was exposed to the Marquis de Sade. And I probably believed that movie to be a true story when I first saw it, or at least a lot truer than it actually was. But I think that it's worth it if it's enlightening. If it tells us something about ourselves, if it tells us a greater truth, which is the job of fiction, then I think it's worth it. If it tells us something about who we are, who we try to be, who we want to be, then it has the qualities of good fiction. Now, you might ask, well, why does it have to use historical figures? Well, probably because historical figures in our minds take on a sort of mythic quality, really. You know, if you use the Marquis de Sade, we instantly know, okay, well, we know a lot about this person, or we think we do. It gives us a basis right off the bat, something we can grab onto, something we say, okay, well, we know this character. We identify him by these traits. Will the movie play to those traits, or will it dash our expectations and give us something we don't expect? That's a decision of the filmmaker. I don't think Quills was ever advertised as a true story, though. Maybe it is a bit disingenuous to advertise historical fiction as fact. But if the movie is good, I really don't see the problem. If it's bad, then it's a lot less forgivable.
Hey TJ. My question is, if you could be on one drug for the rest of your entire life, which one would it be? And also, how much money would I have to pay you for you to eat out Sarah Palin's asshole?
You wouldn't have to pay me anything simply because I could get a lot of money off of the book deal. I could make a ton of money on I Ate Sarah Palin's Asshole, the book, which would probably be made into a movie at some point. I'd be like interviewed in like Hustler magazine, and you know, I'd make so much money. I'd be so rich off of that happening. So you don't need to pay me a damn dime. I'm not attracted to Sarah Palin, but I would do it just for the fame and notoriety. As for your other question, I don't even remember what the fuck it was, because you shouldn't have ended with the Sarah Palin asshole question, because that's all that's stuck in my mind. If you said anything before it, it's completely lost, and I'm not going to replay the video, because it's not worth it.
Hello, Amazing Atheist. My two questions that I've got to ask you are, do you think Obama will be re-elected? And also, you've heavily criticised the Transformers films, for good reason, but how would you have made them better? If you can answer those, I'd love to know. Thank you.
I think Obama's re-election is likely. It's not a guarantee. There's still a lot of time to go. We don't know what the public's attitude is going to be by then. But I think it's likely. If he's held decent approval ratings, even through these sorts of financial times, then I think he's okay. The good thing is that Congress has ratings in the fucking toilet. The Senate has ratings in the toilet. Pretty much every governor across America has their ratings in the toilet. So it's not like Obama is like alone in having shitty approval ratings. Pretty much every politician out there has shitty approval ratings right now. But who's going to rise up to challenge them? Other politicians. That's all. It's going to be different. It's going to be a different crop of politicians. You know, people are going to vote out Obama to put someone in the Congress they hate into the White House. I mean, it could happen. It's happened before, but I don't see it happening. But like I said, attitudes change. The public is a fickle beast. As for your Transformers question, am I like a producer on Transformers, or am I a director? How much power do I have? I mean, I'm assuming if you're asking me how I would make it better, then I must be pretty in control of this fucking project. I gotta be Spielberg or Michael Bay. What I'm going to do with Transformers is I'm going to give it a compelling central character who is not a whiny, self-absorbed teenage boy. I'm going to give him a cast of friends and allies and enemies who are flesh and blood human beings, with genuine emotions, who are good actors, who are well-written characters, and they're going to interact in meaningful ways. And it's going to tell a story. And the Transformers are going to be in that story, but they're going to be as downplayed as I can possibly make them. They're going to be integral, they're going to be key, but they're probably going to get about 20 minutes of screen time in the fucking movie. And, yeah, and that's the way it should be. Because they're not interesting. They're a plot element. They're not interesting characters. They're not interesting to look at beyond, you know, a couple minutes at a time, maybe. I'd downplay the shit out of those motherfuckers. You know, they'd be in there enough that, you know, well, the Transformers, they were pretty cool. But less is more. You know, you gotta focus on the human beings, the real characters, the real heart. Michael Bay made movies where he focused on metal and explosions, and those movies are garbage. They're barely movies. They're commercials filled with bright colors and loud noises, and they only entertain primitive imbeciles.
Dear Amazing Atheist, I would like to hear your opinion about tentacle porn and cartoon porn in general. And before you ask, no, I'm not wearing any pants.
Tentacle porn, I'm not really into. I get too self-conscious about it, because I look at the tentacles and I'm like, why do the tentacles want these girls? What's the motivation of these tentacles? And so rarely do we see what the tentacles are attached to. They just seem to be tentacles that just kind of slither around the world looking for women to penetrate for no apparent gain on their part. So it makes no sense to me. I'm not really, I see the tentacles and I'm just like, why? What are they doing? Why would that be interesting to them? So it boggles my mind, and you know, it doesn't, I don't see the appeal there. And there's occasionally I'll see like a tentacle porn piece that I'm like, oh, that's pretty nice. It's well drawn. But it's never the tentacles themselves that interest me. It's always, you know, oh, look at how they drew that part of the anatomy. That's interesting. Look at that facial expression as she's being sodomized by those tentacles. That's fascinating to me. It's not interesting to just have tentacles in the picture. Cartoon porn in general, though, is wonderful. Hentai and all that. It's magnificent because it gives us a very clear picture of our sexuality. It doesn't make the evolutionary compromises that sexuality makes. Because when sexuality designs a man or woman for sex appeal, it makes a lot of compromises. You know, it can't give her the proportions that would be totally ideal to us, because it's not just saying, okay, well, we're going to create women to be sex objects. It's saying, okay, well, women have to be sex objects, but they also have to be child bearers, and they also have to be able to, you know, not have their spines broken by enormous breasts. You know, they have to be, the design has to be practical. But when you take away real-world physics and real-world pragmatic concerns, you can create a woman who's just for sex, or a man who's just for sex. You can draw them however the fuck you want. You're no longer limited by that. That's how you get, you know, characters like Jessica Rabbit. You know, you can create these unrealistic proportions because it doesn't matter. She doesn't have to bear children. Even if she does, it's a cartoon. She doesn't have to worry about her back hurting every morning. She's a cartoon character.
Hey, what's up, TJ? It's Blackson Takeover here. I just wanted to ask you, what do you think about the music industry as a whole? What do you think about today's music? What do you think about today's music artists in general? And what is your favorite music genre? And what is do you have a favorite band or a favorite artist that you listen to? Bye. Thanks.
My favorite band, artist, whatever, Marilyn Manson. I also like Bob Dylan, Tom Waits, Nick Cave, Leonard Cohen. I'm a big fan of those guys. Those are probably the bands, the artists, whatever, I listen to the most. The recording industry today, I think, is an irrelevant entity that exists on its past accomplishments and probably needs to be fucking shot with an elephant gun and put out of our misery. Artists don't need the record industry anymore. They can give their content to us directly. They don't need a record company. The record company is this giant, obsolescent being. And I call it a being because it has an agenda. It goes around and it tries to pass these draconian laws. It tries to buy congressmen, buy senators, convince them that they need to pass new copyright laws when no such thing is needed. And the movie industry does this too. Now, the movie industry we still need. You know, you can make, like, you know, we could make music. Like, a few guys in their house with, like, you know, some basic equipment can make some fucking music, you know. The same can't be said of the fucking movies that Hollywood does. Like, you know, me and my friends are not going to get together and be able to fucking make, like, Star Wars. It's you know, it's not fucking possible. So we need a movie industry. So they're like a necessary evil. But we don't need a fucking music industry. We just need musicians and people who like music. The record industry is superfluous. It doesn't need to exist at this point. And may it fucking die and rot in hell.
This is a video response question for The Amazing Atheist. TJ, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Between your legs, baby. No, sorry, just joking. Anywhere in the world I could live, I don't know, here. This is fine. I'm content here in fucking Louisiana. The food's good. I got friends here. I got family here. I'm fine, you know, it's a little hot sometimes, whatever. It's good. I like it. I don't need to live anywhere else. I'm not like looking, I'm not one of these grass is greener kind of people. I kind of recognize that everywhere pretty much sucks, and, you know, I might as well be where I'm close to people I care about.
Hey TJ, greetings from South America. Okay, so this is my question. What is your general opinion on piracy, and what is your personal reaction to it? Because you may be aware that there are download sites that feature your books and your DVDs for free. So, thanks. Bye.
Piracy is a good thing. Well, obviously, piracy on the high seas is a bad thing, because, you know, that's bad. But piracy on the internet, that's a good thing. It's a wonderful thing. People sharing knowledge with one another. I mean, granted, you know, usually that knowledge is in the form of songs and movies, but that's still knowledge. You know, as bad as I think, like, fucking Transformers is, I still think a person who watches Transformers is better than someone who doesn't watch any movies at all. I still think a person who listens to bad music is better off than someone who listens to no music. I think that piracy is a wonderful thing. It allows people to sample a wide variety of different pieces of art without it costing them a fortune. You don't have to be a rich man to enjoy a smorgasbord and have it all catered to your tastes and find the thing that you really like. And you know, the great thing about it is that once consumers find the thing that they really like, the thing they might not have found if they didn't have piracy, they're going to spend money on it. Once consumers find the thing that they really, 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 really like, if you can offer that thing to them at a reasonable price, they will fucking pay for it. And that has been shown time and time again. You know, maybe there are some out there who won't, but a lot of them will. And most of them would never have discovered your shit if they didn't fucking first experience it for free. So I love piracy. I think piracy is fucking wonderful and amazing. I think it's the greatest thing that ever happened. Now, that being said, I don't really do the piracy thing anymore myself. I used to do torrents and you know, before that, like, other peer-to-peer stuff. I don't do it anymore, because now I got Netflix, and even though Netflix doesn't have everything, it has enough that I really don't feel the need to go out there and try to do other stuff. if companies out there try to kill services like Netflix or Hulu or whatever else, then they're just doing themselves a disservice. They're going to destroy themselves. And if they destroy themselves, then they deserve to be destroyed. A company that doesn't recognize when something is in its own best interest is a company that doesn't deserve to exist. And a lot of these film studios don't seem to recognize what's in their own fucking best interest. You do not make money by attacking your client base. You don't make money by saying, anyone who fucking films these movies in the theater, we're gonna lock them in jail. No. You don't make money by attacking the people who are the consumers. That's stupid. That is so stupid that it should be like, it's like the first rule of business. Do not persecute your fucking customers, you dumbass motherfuckers. Yeah, they're stealing some stuff from you. You're in a business of selling the intangible, okay? You're not selling fucking material goods here. You're selling concepts and ideas. You know, it's not like, you know, you lose money on inventory, okay? It's not like you're selling Pez and I went and stole a Pez and there's no way you're ever going to make the money from it. You know, if I go and watch a movie that your fucking studio made, you know, chances are, at some point, if I like that movie, you're going to make some money off of me somehow. Because I'm going to tell my friends, check out this fucking movie. And you know what? If I recommend it to my friends, some of them are going to fucking watch it on Hulu or Netflix with, you know, ads or a paid subscription service. Or they're going to fucking rent a DVD from fucking Netflix. Or they're going to go to Walmart and buy the fucking Blu-ray. Or something like that. Or they're going to fucking go on their iTunes and they're going to download it. You know, you're going to make money off of that if you put out a good product that people want. And it's all because I saw it for free and recommended it to people who then went and paid for it. And they're going to recommend it to people. And some of the people they recommend it to are going to fucking pay for it. If you made a good product. If you made a piece of shit, then no one's going to pay for it. But that's not because it's a fucking piracy. That's because you made a piece of shit.